Hi. Well, there had to be a Chinese quad part 3. So as having brought the trailer, it had put quite a bit of strain on the drive. So there was a bit of a clicking noise. Well, a lot of a clicking noise. Sounded like chain slip. So as on further investigation, we found a problem with the sprocket, which I'm going to show you now. So as we removed the assembly and found that that was the speedo drive, which I wondered why it didn't work for. So as obviously we used the GPS speedo and eliminated this because I couldn't get a cable for it anyway. So as that had ripped all that lot out, there was a bearing somewhere in here, so as I've got to build that up now. And if you look at the sprocket, you can see how it's worn the outer shaft. So as the inner shaft's fine, there's no wear on that, and the sprocket teeth don't look too bad. Now that is an 18 tooth sprocket. I can get a 19 tooth, which I've got it on order, just to see if the same spline. It's a 24 spline, so it should be okay. We've got some bearings. So as the plan is, I've got some thick aluminium block here. Going to saw that, drill through the middle, and we're going to get that on the lathe, and we are going to make a new one of these, and which I've got a few more bearings. I'm going to do a double bearing setup in there, and then we're going to have a single bearing setup in there when that's sorted. And then what we're going to do is machine this down and fit it all together, so as that then is going to be bomb proof. So as we'll crack on with that soon and see how that turns out. Right then, as you can see, we've cut the alley block. I'll stick a bolt through there now, put it in the lathe. That's easier for me to turn. So as we're going to make a new one of these for the quad. We're not worried about speedo drive, as said before. It's shattered. I can't get a speedo cable anywhere, and to get anything like this is highly unlikely. So as now I'm going to take that to the lathe and start machining away, and that we can hold two bearings in there. Then I'm going to cut this short, clean that up with a lathe, and I'm going to put a little brass insert in there, so as that will give there's loads of supports. Then instead of one bearing, there's going to be 3 bearings. So that's beefed that up. So as right then, we'll go and take that to the lathe now and start chipping away at that and see what we can do. Okay, so as we've used the block aluminium, we've put it in the lathe and we've took it down. What we've done is we've measured the absolute ultimate outside diameter of the block we want, which is coming up 80 millimeters. On the block we're at about 82. We've got a slight nick in there, which wasn't a bad guess. So by the time I've took that off, that'll be sorted. Then we can take our bolt nut off, pull it off the shaft, and grip it in the jaws, and then start boring the centre out. So as we want a slight lip on there where it used to go. Obviously this will be completely round. It ain't going to make any difference whatsoever on the bike. I could have options of putting 4 holes in, and then we can bore that then to the bearing size. So obviously we're not worried about the speedo drive, so we can get a couple of bearings in there. So as that'll sort that problem out. So as what we've done this now to 80 millimeters and took everything out. We've now started to leave 2 tabs on there. So we're going to leave that there where it is. Now if you can see that we got to take 50 mil off this now, so there's a fair bit of machining to do. This is an old lathe, so I can only take a few thou at a time. So let's see how that goes. You can see it's struggling. That's about 3.5 thou cut. It is struggling on that. It's going to take a while to bring this down to 50mm. As you can see, it'll just stop the motor out if I take more than a few thou. So this is going to be extremely time consuming. So as another few hours, I might have that down to 50mm. So as we'll leave that there for a bit. Several cuts later, and we've decided to keep it at 51 just to give it a little bit more sidewall, because we can get away with it when you can see where the positioning of the original washer went through and the stud. There's still a little bit. So as we've gone to 51, as you can see, it's looking very similar. We'll bore them. We're going to swap it over in the lathe. We'll bore the middle out. We'll stick the centralising flange on it, and then we'll bore all the way through it, so as we can house the two bearings on that. So as that should sort that out. My word! Look at the mess. I best get the missus to clean that lot up. Anyway, so I was back to our sprocket, front sprocket. This is for a 520 18-tooth sprocket. Cannot get one. So as I've machined it down and shortened it so as it fits our new bearing holder, thingamajig, whatever we want to call it. But in the meantime, the other day I got one of these sprockets from eBay. It's the same 24 spline, however it's smaller, so as obviously I'll need to go back up on the rear, probably 3 teeth. I think it's 1:3 ratio. I'm not sure about that, but I'll work that out. Anyway, it was too wide. It was for a 530 chain. So as I machined it down, so as we know, I've got a backup sprocket. If ever I need one, all I've got to do now is just machine that down and put that to the same size as this sprocket, and it's basically quick change. But that sprocket's good. Now, boy, was that was fairly hard. Okay, considering it's from China, not bad quality in all fairness. It has machined up well, but you could tell it was hard on the teeth. The middle of the sprocket's quite soft, so as I'd say, it was just the tips was hard, and who knows how they've done the process, but I'm not really particularly bothered about that. Right, so what we're going to do now is just make a little brass bush for there. So the bearing, I've done it fairly tight, so as it's quite, if I can find the bearing, not sure where the bearing is. Hello, where's the bearing? Oh, here it is. So as we've done it, it will push in, that will. If I warm it up, it'll just fly in. So as that bearing will sit right to the back, the other bearing will sit in the holder. Then we'll just have the brass bush, which will just go in there to steady that. That'll give us a load of strength, far better than the original design. So far I'm quite pleased with that. Okay, so as we're after a bit of brass, well, phosphorus bronze, I found a nice chunk here. Obviously, I haven't got any rounding stock at all. We was after 13.7 for a bushing in there. Anyway, rather than cut that, I found another piece of phosphorus bronze strip. It's 1/2 inch, so that's close enough. So we'll cut that and we'll use that, machine that down and see how we go. Okay, so as we've gone from this, which we could not get, to this new one, which I've now made the brass phosphor bronze bushing. So as our sprocket fits nicely in there, that gives it loads of support. This goes on the end of the shaft as well as the other piece, which is now in the paint, which I'll show you in a while. So as we got a choice of we got a backup sprocket, which is actually 2 teeth smaller, so it's probably 6 tooth or maybe 5-6 tooth on the rear. I'm not sure, I'll have to work some calculations out on that, but that's, might not use it, but it's there and it's 2 hand if I ever need it. So as we're going to assemble this back onto the quad, which is in Spain. So what I'll do is I'll assemble this on the piece then, just to show you the final what's the name. So we'll get back to that in a bit. Okay, this just about ends the Chinese quad part 3. If anybody wants to get me to do part 4, which will be fitting it, it's going to be like March, April before I get round to fitting it, please put something in the comments. You never know, it might interest somebody. If not, I ain't going to bother. Right, finished product, there it is, all perfect. Obviously a lot better than the other one. Everything's lined up straight through, so all I've got to do now is fit this to the quad and then put the sprocket on and then tighten it up with a nylon nut. That then will be far superior design than what the Chinese did on that quad. That will last longer than the bike, so I'm happy with that now. That can go in the box off to Spain. But I'm going to put a few photos at the end of the video just showing you the output shaft from the gearbox, which comes from the left hand side of the bike, looking at it from the rear over towards. That's why you've got that. There's a lot of torque there, there's a lot of play in it if that bearing goes, and that's what was rattling. It was rattling about like in a shirt sleeve. Thank you for watching. I hope it's been an interest to some. It's certainly been challenging for me, and like I say, please subscribe, because you never know what else I'm going to put on and other problems I may face. But thank you again. Bye.